one.
Hello and welcome to Money Matters. I'm Sarah Peterson here with Dean and Dylan Greenberg. I get the dynamic duo today. So much fun. How are you guys doing today?
We're good. It's good to see you again.
Well, yeah, it's
Great to see you as always. We are going to have a fun day today. We're going to talk about the thing nobody wants to talk about. Fear. What are you afraid of? And let's face those fears and get it done so we can have a happy, healthy, and go-go retirement.
Well, I mean, there's always going to be fear, all right? 1987, there was fear. In 2001, there was fear. 2008, the pandemic was fear. In 2020, there's always going to be fear. It just seems like the fear level is really rocketed up right now, okay? Because what it is you're looking at the bank situation, and people are concerned about the banks because they remember 2008. I don't believe it's a 2008 situation. There's what happened in 2008, the capitalization went way down because a lot of the products that were illiquid were marked to the market, and they drove the prices down by 75%, which meant everybody had to lower how much they had in those illiquid investments, and they didn't have the liquidity. There's capitalization that needs to be in the banks, and our banks have more regulations than anybody in the world. So where we are right now is we had a first misstep because of interest rates going high. There will be others, and they're probably going to be in the mid-range banks for the most part. You'll be able to watch them as they go because they're not as regulated and capitalized as the big banks. But the problem that I have is everyone wants to sell fear. I will never sell fear. There's solutions to fear, and that's just something, as we go through the show today, we need to talk about.
Those clients that were afraid, maybe they saw on the news, the demise of the bank, and they're worried about the security of their money. They're calling you. What are you telling them?
Don't worry. Let's talk. Let's settle down. How much money you have in the bank? How much you have in the CDs? Is it in just your name or is it in your joint name? Because if you have a CD in one name and then you have a CD in the other name, that gives you $500,000 worth of FDIC insurance. I also tell them don't believe the government. Don't believe them that they're going to come in and rescue everything. They can rescue you now for these few bags to settle down the runs on the bank. But if this is a systemic situation like we had in 2008, the government cannot be there to keep doing that. It's going to be on you. They've warned you. The red flag has been there. So don't go ahead and think, oh, it's okay, I'm going to be above those regulations. If you're an individual and you have money sitting in the bank that has more than $250,000, do something about it.
You know what? Fear to me is just, what is it? We're afraid of, in any case, the unknown. The pandemic came and nobody ever would have thought that that kind of scenario could have played out the way it did. And that was an unknown we were all afraid of. And there continues to be all of these unknowns. And so finding a way to take each individual fear, face that, and create a solution all plays back into what?
To the financial plan. Yeah, and then going back to that too, it does, the fear of the unknown, and it's kind of the fear of what happened last time. Last time a bank went out, it was 2008, and we saw the market go down 51%. So that's kind of in the back of people's minds. It's like, are we going to see another one? But like you're saying, we don't think it's going to be that bad, but it's still going to play on your emotions when you're investing. And like 2020, when the markets tanked to 35% in March alone, people got scared, and they sold everything because they were afraid of the unknown, and then they said the best option was to get out, just go to cash and do nothing. But then they missed out on the unknown that it actually came back quick and it accelerated, and it didn't stop accelerating for a couple of years until obviously last year. But the way to do it and the way to kind of maybe not sell everything out of the fear of the unknown is to have the financial plan. And that way, and the way the financial plan kind of helps you sleep at night is you plan for this. You did this months in advance, years in advance. You have something set up. So in case you don't, when you were setting it up, you didn't want to have a lot of risk. You were saying, oh, I'm retiring soon. Couple of years from now, 5 years from now, I'm retiring. I don't want to be that aggressive. I'm not in my 30s anymore. I just want to have the money I made, the money I saved, and I wanted to have it for retirement, for income. So we would set the plan up that way. So you don't have all the risk going into maybe an unknown black swan event happens. So you won't be hit so hard in that case. And that's where the financial plan comes into play, because you already did all the work to set it up so you can sleep at night in case something does happen.
What drives everybody? Fear and greed. They're the two extremes of where most people should be. They should be in the middle as they retire and get there and understand there's opportunities to be greedy, but everyone looks at greed at the wrong time. They want to be greedy when the markets are making new highs. They want to get scared and like protect themselves when everything is down. If they reverse that and become greedy when things are down and look terrible, and they get fear when the markets are higher and their investments are doing great, they would be so much more successful over time. That's the investment part about it. But that whole plan starts to get you kind of balanced of where you need to be. Most people that are retired either have enough money and don't need to worry about it, so their growth is their growth. It goes up and down. It's there. But if they don't, they got to be very careful that they're not living off the growth, they're living off their income. And whether it's from the dividends, interest, and Social Security, pensions, that's what we try to figure out for them.
Well, and all that plays back into having a financial plan. So if these are conversations that maybe somebody had early on, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, they're different conversations we're having. The fears change going into retirement because it is one big unknown, right? You've always worked, you've always known, I have a salary, I have this coming in, and it's different. So the way we look at financial planning is different.
But here's what I see with young people, 20s, 30s, 40s. Their greed got so bad again, just like in the late 90s, that they all thought they were superstars buying penny stocks. And they made 100 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand, only to give it all back. Because they don't think it stops. They don't want to listen to people that are older. They don't want to listen to people that have gone through it. They want to go ahead and think that they are the hot shot, they're new, I can buy penny stocks, I can do this, and they don't even realize that they're being taken, and eventually they're going to do it. If you catch that hot streak and you're young, save that money. But if you're older and you're trying to do that, you're in trouble, all right?
Especially if we always call it the retirement red zone. If you're approaching that retirement red zone and you haven't had these types of conversations, now is the time, because tomorrow we don't know what that's going to bring. But today, here we are, and the sun is shining, right? That phone number is 844-544-4909. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll come back. We'll talk more about your fear and how to handle it in approaching retirement.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Hello and welcome back to Money Matters. I'm here with Dean and Dylan Greenberg of Greenberg Financial Group. And we were talking before the break about fear and how to let those fears, let's face them, figure out the solutions, because we can't be run by fear, especially not when it comes to our finances.
Well, like we said, fear and greed. The fear goes away with the financial plans, all right? But you mentioned something the first time, it's that red zone. All right, the red zone part of retirement. That could be 5 years, 10 years for people. That's when you really need to be retirement planning. Before that, the financial planning is about accumulating wealth. All right, because you accumulate wealth for what reason? To be able to continue your income and your lifestyle when you retire. That's how you have to look at it. It's a constant building relationship between you and your advisor. At the end of the day, you have to invest the money. which is what we also do, what separates us from just a financial advisor. We build it, we design it, and then we protect it. And we put you through that whole process. But that red zone, all right, fits in with us because obviously we're football coaches. We believe in team. We believe in that whole thing. So I love that analogy of being the red zone. And if you have 10 years, 5 years before your retirement, you better be doing something right now. If you're just sitting around saying, I'm going to wait, or I don't have enough money to do it, you're only going to put yourself more into a losing situation.
We actually had a client come in, this is probably a month or so ago, and they've been putting it off, like you were saying. They've been putting it off, and they finally said, all right, we're going to set up the meeting to do the financial plan, and we want to create the financial plan. So they set it up, they come in, and they were talking to us before we even got started. They just said, yeah, we're really scared. We're really scared of the unknown, we've been putting this off. We feel like we're not in a good position to retire, but we want to retire in about 5 or 10 years. So then we're like, okay, well, let's see what we got. And we go through the whole plan, go through everything. And like we were talking about on another show, we show them the confidence level at the end of the plan. They were 99% that their financial plan, their retirement plan was going to be successful. Their breath of fresh air after that was great. They went home and they told us, they're like, we were so happy that we did this. We put it off for so long because we were scared. Mm-hmm. But now that we did it, we can go back home and it's just a whole weight lifted off their shoulders.
Nobody's taught this. You know, I remember my dad sitting at the table all the time with this little big metal gray box, and all the bills were in there. And every month they were there, and they would come out, and he'll do it, and they go, okay, Lois, we got positive by $300 this month. You know what I mean? That was their financial plan. You know, are we ahead or behind on the bills? How much money did we put saving? Did we put money in vacation? They never had a structured plan. And structured plans just help people. They change, but they give you goals. Everyone has needs and wants, okay? You got to fulfill the needs first before you can get to the wants. But our financial plan allows you to do both. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and things have changed over the years because my grandpa, he worked for AT&T, and he didn't really have the savings because he had his pension coming to him regardless of what happened later on in life, and that's kind of what you live on, and then you live on Social Security with him and my grandma. But like we know now, like especially people my age in their 20s and their 30s, maybe even in their 40s a little bit, Social Security might not be there. And that's also another fear, is they're saying it's come 2034, they're not going to be able to pay 100% of Social Security participants anymore, based off all the disability, everything. This is going to go down.
That's right around the corner.
It is. It's about 11 years away. And I mean, who knows what administration's in then and what they pass through if they print money. But as of right now, 2034, they're going to start being only able to pay 80% of the total Social Security that you would get. So that's why we tell everybody, the young, don't plan on Social Security being there as kind of your backstop. Mm-hmm. Put it into your own hands and create your own pension, and then you can do that through 401ks, through IRAs, through different avenues, and we can all talk about all the different ones. Everybody's unique. But it has changed, and it's going to be ever changing.
Well, we sometimes talk about, this is not your grandfather's retirement, but you said in another show, which I thought was interesting, that it's changing, but you feel like for the good, because we have so many tools in our toolbox now that our grandparents didn't have to create income, to create wealth in other ways.
Right. I mean, the way the annuities are set up today, and I know annuities are a bad word to people because of the way they used to be sold, and the way some of them are still sold. But under the right plan, they fit in. That's the whole idea. They are now one of the sources to be able to get income, guaranteed income for the rest of your life with the income riders, which is great. There's pros and cons to everything. They're not for everybody. But people that are usually saving money, then they get their pension and Social Security later on that have an income gap, are able to put money away for 5, 7, 10 years, even 2 years. And that will give them an income to make up the difference between what they need. Remember, retirement is a lifestyle. And that lifestyle is what drives how much income you need. I don't want people to go back on their lifestyle unless they need to. But if they don't, then live that lifestyle to the fullest. I always talk about the retirement bell curve. You're going to spend more money for the first 2 years you don't spend as much because you want to kind of get your feet wet. But then for the next 12 years, you spend more money. Then after that, kind of goes downhill. And once you start getting to late 70s, early 80s, you're definitely spending less. So you might as well spend more while you're healthy, energized, and want to do the things you want to do.
It's interesting. We have a family member who I saw going into retirement was paralyzed with fear. I mean, just paralyzed for all the change and all the unknowns. And when her financial advisor sat down with her and explained to her that, she had a great mortgage on her house, she didn't want to have any debt, but her mortgage was like less than 3%. And he explained to her that you can invest here and make 5 or 6%, and you can still have your mortgage, and you can live, and you can do all these trips and all these things that are on your bucket list. It was like seeing such a weight lifted. So just knowing that there's a plan in place allows you to have freedom.
Exactly. As long as they know they can always be able to pay that mortgage, then they can spend the other money on other things. And the way that is because of Social Security or their pension or the investment, what they're getting will pay for it. The whole idea, though, is when they do the plan, we plan for the things that you want, not just what you need. We plan for these things on your bucket list and your weddings that you might have to pay, or helping out your children or grandchildren. That's in the plan. It's not just about one thing or two things. It's about what your lifestyle is. And that, let's face it, there's a lot more to just about living for yourself. It's a living to do things with your spouses, your family, taking care of people, health problems, all that. And the only way you're going to see a good picture is if they do the plan.
What's a process like when someone gives you a call? What happens after that?
We set up, the first meeting is kind of like in a sense, fact finding, but we send them an email with all the information that we need to have to create the financial plan. And then we sit down. We don't start the financial plan until we sit down in person, because we like to have the conversation start from ground zero. And then we start filling it out. It includes their income, their monthly expenses, any pensions they might have, because pensions are going away, but federal employees still have a good pension. So you do have pensions. You have investments, any mortgages, any rental income, anything like that, any life insurance policies. That's what we ask you to bring, so we can kind of get the ball rolling and have the conversation start from there, and then we just take it for wherever it goes. And then as we go through the plan and through our program, we start going through what are the expenses, what are they right now, and we tend to keep the expenses now when they're working the same as when they're retired, because if they're not working, they're going to go be probably traveling. That's been the one thing that 100% of people want to travel when they retire. So we always have that in the wants. So that's why we keep the expenses kind of the same. But we go through the goals, like he was saying, with the weddings maybe, or like they want to leave a gift or a donation to their church or something like that.
Charitable giving, yeah.
Yep. Or they want to leave, we can talk about leaving a bequest, leaving money to their grandkids, to their kids, anything like that. And that's where it kind of goes from there. And then from there, we go into the investments, get all that, and then we go into the Monte Carlo simulation, which is where you get your confidence in. And the Monte Carlo simulation is 1,000 different scenarios of your plan and different outcomes, 1,000 different outcomes of different returns. So you're going to have one that's not going to happen. It's going to be, if you have $1 million in your financial plan, it's going to be like $40 million. That's just not going to happen. And then there's going to be one where you run out of money in 10 years. So that's kind of how the Monte Carlo works, but we're finding somewhere in the middle. And it's 1,000 different simulations, and if you get about 80% or higher, that will be successful during retirement.
But we'll keep working until you get 90, 95% or higher.
And we can change it whenever. And we can change, and we can kind of go to the play zone that is called on the program and say, okay, if you're 70% confident, we make it, okay, let's just spend less in traveling. And then all of a sudden it goes up to 85, and they're like, okay, so that's what we got to budget for. And now they know it, rather than just kind of going off a whim.
It just takes like we said before, the fear comes from the unknown, and now we have the knowns, and now we can make a plan. And it's individualized and personalized to your needs,
So they need to come and see what a play zone is.
Exactly. That phone number is 844-544-4909. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about what are you afraid of, and let's face those fears together.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. the one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Hello and welcome back to Money Matters. I'm Sarah Peterson here with Dean and Dylan Greenberg, and we're talking today about facing your financial fears. We talked about the banks, which people have been afraid of. We talked about, losing Social Security. Hit me with some more fears, and let's just tackle
Right now, inflation. People are very concerned about inflation because it's hitting them right where it hurts, right in their monthly paycheck. And unfortunately, it hits the middle class and the lower economic people the hardest. A fixed income doesn't go up enough to take care of 5, 6, 7, 8% inflation.
Well, you have to decide, can I put gas in my car? Can I buy myself, a gallon of milk? That's not decisions that Americans are used to having to make.
Exactly. And so you have to make sure that you understand your budgets and spending. And that's one of the things we work with people. All right, if you're going over now because of inflation, how do you cut back until we get these prices back down? And we'll look at their budget. A lot of people, maybe can cut back on their phone bill, can cut back on how much where they're shopping or doing things or things that they need, because let's face it, it's not going down for a while. And so if they're right at that mark, the thing that they forget they're doing is paying themselves, which is the hardest thing, because you're trying to plan for your retirement and then people stop putting as much money into their retirement accounts because they need it to live on. Well, let's start from the spending first. Don't be the government who just keeps increasing spending. Be a person that is accountable and stop spending. And the only way you do that is if you're honest and true, but most people don't want to do it, so they come to us and we'll do that budget for them. We'll work with them on that budget and help them and try to work through it. And if not, then you have to probably take back a little bit, because you don't want to lose your house, you don't want to lose your car. And then, at least they have a plan for now, and then what their plan is in 3 years and 5 years from now to get back on track.
What about healthcare fears? What about the fear of, oh my gosh, what if I have a big medical event? Do I have enough money for that? Or longevity, I live too long and I'm gonna...
Well, if you don't have insurance, it's a big fear. But then you have to go through access to something like that to be able to get the free medical care. Everyone can get taken care of if you have nothing. It's the people in the middle that don't have a great medical plan that will get hurt on the other side.
I have certainly noticed since the pandemic that things that were covered before are no longer covered. Deductibles have gone up.
Right.
I mean, you might still have insurance, but it might not be the same.
Right, and that's a problem. Obviously we're not the insurance company and we don't do that, but if they run into that problem, then we need a plan to fix it. Mm-hmm. Everyone will work with you, medical companies will work with you, put on payment plans, and it's hard, because what people don't realize though is you get a bill, and if you can't afford it, a lot of times if you call them, they will work with you because they want something out of it. They don't want you to not pay them anything.
At the end of the day, all of these fears can be resolved with information, right? So the plan is number one, and getting educated. And that's what you guys are so good at with your radio shows. I know you said 33 years you've been doing these radio shows and these television shows, obviously, giving people the knowledge to be informed. That is step number one in getting over these fears. Mm-hmm. We're just creating a plan in life.
There's always going to be fear, always. What you want to do is educate them so they can reduce their fear, so they trust you in what your decision making is. There's opportunities in all these types of times. In 2008, you went down, but the opportunity was to refocus your portfolio to benefit when the markets went back higher. 2020, same thing in the pandemic. The markets went down 30% very quickly. If you sold out, you're in trouble. If you refocused and reallocated into quality, it all came back. It's the same thing now. Eventually, this market will go down and stop. And then we'll have 2, 3, 5 years of the markets doing well again. You have a plan, and it's always based on what your returns are going to be. So when the returns aren't doing that, you have to make sure you make up for extra returns when we have that opportunity.
And it is that, but it's also the overall theme of today is the fear. And that goes back to, say you want to buy quality and you want to buy, say Apple is one of the best companies in the world, but you want to buy it, everybody wants to buy it at $180 a share when it's just up 30% for the year. Everybody wants in, thinking it's never going to go down. But then all of a sudden it goes down 30% and it's at $100. But you don't want to buy it anymore because you think it's going to zero. And it's the fear of, is it going to zero? But why wouldn't you want to buy one of the best companies in the world at a discount? It's the same idea. If you put it Apple, say, would you buy an iPhone if it's $2,000? No. But would you buy an iPhone if you get it on sale for $400? The brand new iPhone. Everybody would say yes, they would. And it's the same idea as a stock.
I think it's because, I mean, the psychology of knowing, you know the quality, you know what you're getting, right? So you know that phone at $1,000 or $5 is still that phone.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why we believe in the education of it, because that's why we want to educate you on why it's a good idea to buy at a discount. And that's where we come in, where we are the money managers. So we want to be transparent with what's in your portfolio and why it's in there, and we want you to be on the same page as us.
Once we know what your risk tolerance is, and how much you can allocate towards growth or value or dividends, then that's easy, because in that part, we'll pull the trigger. We know from 40 years plus experience that when the markets go down, they're going to come back. My grandmother, when she was 100 years old and the markets went down in 2001, said, I don't have a lot, here's $75,000, put this in for my great-grandchildren. Because I know, since I've been around over 100 years, the markets come back every single time since the 20s and the 30s and the Depression. Just listen to me, Dean, and I do, and I always remember that in the back of my mind.
You know what? I love that you guys are a family and a team, and it's so apparent that you care about what you do and you care about your clients so much. I want people to understand that when they give you guys a call, they're going to get one of you on the phone. You guys work together so beautifully. And if you don't have a financial plan and these conversations have never happened in your household, pick up the phone and give us a call. Now is the time. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day to find out whether or not you're on the right path to retirement. That phone number is 844-544-4909, or we have the nifty little QR code you can scan and bring you right to us. Thank you guys so much for the education and so much fun.
We will see you next week, Sarah.
Next time with a cup of coffee. We hope you'll join us for your road to retirement, and we'll see you soon.